Hello everyone. Today I will address another question from a YouTuber about about diet, healthy lifestyle, and one of you asked me to share perspective on health in general, what is healthy body and how we can maintain health using the knowledge of Siddhas, and in general how spirituality is related to our physical health. So maybe this perspective is not going to be shared by everyone or resonate with everyone, but you may hear it out and see how it applies to you. This video is not a medical advice nor a consultation, so it's just a sharing of perspective. So again, what is health? Health is balance. Who are we? We are consciousness. So consciousness is manifested in the form of the body. Why is it manifested in the form of this body, physical body? And why do we emphasize on this physical body and remain ignorant about all the other, say, subtleties of our being or emanations? Is because this very body is the residue of our karmic experience for the past many thousands of years. That's why our soul has this residue, keeps this as an information, resonates it, vibrates it, and manifests it into the body. But even though we're very much aware of our physical body, we are aware of our physical body from 2 points of view. The first is pain, and the second is pleasure. And the third is the balanced state, which is a blissful contentment, which the majority of people experience only in glimpses for a very short time. So I would refer to this third state or the state of equanimity, bliss, and contentment as the state of health. Now, everything else is either a state of excitement, restlessness, anxiety, or the state of pain. The state of pain I would define as the state of loss of energy. And many times we experience the pains of loss of energy or being drained, but we still consider them as physical because somehow our energy body is very closely related to our physical body. And certain pains are indications of energetic holes or loss of energy in or of the physical, energy body, yet they start manifesting after some time on the condition of our body, on the condition of our glands and organs. Our consciousness shapes our body. The mechanism of shaping is described in my book in detail. The book is called Siddha, either the whole book or the one that is presented through Amazon in different parts. So you can find this information there. Consciousness manifests itself through our upper glands, through the upper chamber, thalamus, hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal gland. The most important gland is the pituitary gland. The way it functions is represented by the way our consciousness operates. If the consciousness is drained and there's a huge energy loss because of us entertaining the projected reality for a long time, stressing about different elements of the projected reality, that energy loss starts translating into the way the pituitary gland kind of secretes and the information further to our thyroid. The thyroid manages all the other glands and organs, and the condition of the body will be according to the secretion of the pituitary gland and its further assimilation into the body. Now, when we speak about decay, aging, we speak about the presence of the parasitic energy within the body. But the presence of the parasitic energy within the body is ensured by the presence of the parasitic energy within consciousness. Now let's take a look at what is parasitic energy within consciousness. According to all the authentic, true teachings, spiritual teachings, the parasitic energy is the karmic energy within the collective that onto which, or these clusters onto which we are connected through our bloodlines, ancestry lines, and so on. So these parasitic energies are ideologies, belief systems, different forms of thought, emotional energy clusters, ancient forms of creation, different archetypes that exist within the collective, within our own ancestry cluster, and within the collective in general. So these forms of parasitic energy will be attached to our conscious existence from our birth, through our bloodlines. And so if we are born, of course, in this day and age, and this is our present reality, so we will think that all these thoughts, ideas, ideologies, belief systems are normality of our existence. So we will entertain these thoughts. These thoughts will invoke emotions. And we will not see these forms of energy loss as anomaly, abnormal. And that's why we will not be able to trace the aging process or understand how we lose our energy continuously by entertaining these thoughts. We will not be even in control of these thoughts. These thoughts will be in control of us. They'll get better of us. Unless you awaken and understand that your true being, the natural state of being, is that thoughtless, emotionless, but yet fulfilling, blissful nothingness, and yet fulfillment and wholesomeness at the same time. So, but even then, when you're awakened and you are able to maintain yourself focused within and in the absorbed state, you will still be dragged into the compulsive, reactive forms of behavior where these parasitic currents will be overtaking your consciousness and bringing you into the projected reality until you learn to master your space of consciousness and protect it from this parasitic energy. Now, this parasitic energy affects consciousness. Then consciousness moving in a certain way, draining itself, starts creating anomaly within the body space, creating anxiety, craving, and pushing the body into certain actions. The beginning of action is always within consciousness. It is the movement of consciousness. It is the intention. It is the idea that arises within consciousness. This idea does not just arise out of nowhere. It's usually a part of that matrix, a system, a part of which we are all. And these undercurrents, these suggestions, thoughts, and emotions drive our life behind the scenes, or in other words, they drain our life. Because we also believe that certain way of living, eating patterns are normality. But these eating habits we're having right now in this day and age are not the same as, say, thousands of years ago. Everything changed. And so whatever we accept for normality maybe should be questioned. But how can we, right? So our existence is kind of intertwined with the parasitic energy, which is accepted for normality. And that's why we can't liberate ourselves. That's why we're stuck and we're in bondage, because we cannot tell parasitic energy from the normal being usually. And that's why, even though we might feel more or less balanced, we're still draining ourselves, aging, and our lifespan is very short. So our sages and truly evolved and enlightened beings, which were very, very few in the past thousands of years, left us some information about it, but which is very hard to decipher, because if one doesn't have true awakening in the reference point, it is difficult to tell the weeds from the wheat. And so the question of health is always a vital one. People experience some kind of spiritual experiences or heightened state of consciousness, and yet they can't be established in it. So if you can't be established in it, it means that the parasitic energy is still prevalent. The truth of the sages is that, and doesn't need to be the medical truth, no one tries to object here anything, whatever the science tells people, that's one thing. Very often what is told is commercial information, because after all, you have to be realistic about the day and age and the dimension you're in. Everyone is someone else's food, someone else's energy supply, and we are all interexchanging this parasitic energy, emotional energy, and try to drain each other just by default, being born here. So now the reality of things is, according to the high level beings, is that we are consumed during our lifetimes, from birth to abnormal death, which we consider as normality, the process of rotting alive from the birth, from the day we are born to the day we just are pushed and forced to abandon the body, usually because of the fact that the body has rotten to the point where it can't be recovered anymore. Usually this is like cancer or some other type of rotting. This is the result of parasitic energy that has drained the body to the T, till the end. And so all the diseases, the aging process and the decay of the body are driven by the parasitic energy. The parasitic currents within the collective and individual consciousness, and collective meaning the individual consciousness does not have any barrier, it is not an autonomous, energetic and spiritual entity of a higher frequency to resist this parasitic energy, and so they have very easy entrance into one's physical and energetic being. And so throughout our lives, the majority, which is almost everyone, is the food to this parasitic energy. We feed these ideologies and beliefs, we feed these ideas with our emotional and mental, intellectual, spiritual energy, until the point that that place, which is responsible for certain emotions or thoughts or ideas, is drained, and as it's drained, it becomes the host to the parasitic energy. And this parasitic energy gets into the physical being and starts eating it alive. And usually the person finds out at some point that they have an incurable disease. Now, all the viruses, bacteria, or yeasts and molds, which are part of our current body, they are also, their life is promoted by the food we're eating. Now, sometimes because of eating those type of foods, those types of food, usually sugar-based, we're feeding these parasitic energy on the physical level, because on the physical level, they are in the form of yeasts or funguses. Fungus, I mean, some viruses usually transmitted sexually or orally, through respiratory system, sometimes through digestive system, and bacteria, same digestive, spread through the digestive tract, or poisoning. Now, the way you can preserve your health, of course, is having good digestive system, good digestive file, having enough oxygen in your blood, being very clear about what you want, and interacting with people with caution, understanding the type of the day and age you're living in, and how codependent on other people's energies people are in general, and how sometimes thirsty and hungry for other people's energies those hungry people are. And so knowing that, you start observing not only the physical aspect of reality, but also the subtle aspect of reality, the energy aspect of reality. And thus you understand health much deeper than just the physical body, because you understand that the physical body is the fruit and the consciousness is the root. If something is wrong with the root, with consciousness, it drains, it will reflect on the state or condition of the physical body or health. And so most of our diseases are the process of rotting alive, where parasites infest your body or your organs. A lot of foods are infested and we are not aware of it. So it's enough for some parts of parasitic energy or some parasites, worms, to enter the body and affect. But very often, it's also the choice of food is driven by the parasites that are already in the body. For example, sugar cravings. These are suggestions by the existing parasitic energy within the body, because all the yeast, mold in the blood or in the organs requires sugar for its sustenance. Most of the parasites, worms, other type of parasites require sugar or some type of food which is turning into sugar, like grains, starch food, staple foods, and stuff like that. Besides that, a lot of our food items are not fit for human consumption because they contain artificial substances which also stagnate the system of elimination and detoxification. A lot of toxins are inhaled and get into the bloodstream because through the nose, through inhalation. And so when you are living in polluted environments, you also, your blood may be polluted or not oxygenated enough. When the blood is not oxygenated enough, it becomes a perfect environment for parasites to thrive, whether in the blood or in your intestines or in your organs. The majority of people who have different, especially complex physical ailments, incurable ailments, usually have a lot of parasites, but the doctors usually look for the solutions elsewhere. So sometimes it is simply enough to have antiparasitic deworming herbs or teas, or change one's lifestyle and diet. And again, the diet is always a reflection of one's consciousness. If one's consciousness is infested with parasitic energy, one will tend to unhealthy lifestyles, to self-damaging lifestyles, which will promote the procreation of parasitic energy within their body. So when people are hosts to parasitic energy on the physical body, they're usually the hosts of this parasitic energy on the subtle energy body as well. Now, when we speak about psychic attacks and occult attacks, stuff like that, it is usually that one's mind is very weak and becomes susceptible to other people's suggestions. Other people's will is stronger than one's own, and one's energy barrier can be easily breached for energy or something else. So it is very important to be aware of the fact that the actual existence of parasitic energy is on the subtle level. And these are different thought forms, emotional waves, all different karmic residue. On a more collective level, it is the vibration of different ideologies, belief systems, which comprise our human existence, but they are still a part of the man-made reality. The man-made reality itself is like a tumor of this dimension, because this dimension has natural world and it's a part of creation. Yet the man-made reality kind of is sort of a separate entity, like a tumor. And in this day and age, in this cycle, it has become just a karmic residue. So it's mostly comprised of the collective residue of information, which is made of ideologies, beliefs, ideas of life, how we have to live, shouldn't live. So it becomes a prison in itself. And when we speak of spiritual liberation, of health, of self-healing, we have to take all these things in account, because otherwise all our attempts but are futile. They maybe bring some results in the short term, but in the long term, they end up nowhere. Because one way or the other, we keep on losing our vital energy, even if we eat healthily according to our current ideas of what health is and what should be healthy. Again, people nowadays stress so much about food that the food itself becomes like a drug, like a form of addiction, form of fetish, type of lifestyle to which they again attach and proclaim for the truth. We eat for sustenance. Everything in this world is addictive, and you can entertain it for just a short time and kind of know or have this awareness that the true fulfillment comes from within. We are told that we have to eat a certain number of times a day, for instance, but is it really true? It's questionable, because if we are more attuned to nature, we will know what's relevant for us, for each and every individual. And each and every individual should live according to their own internal perception. Because today your consciousness vibrates a certain level of awareness and understanding of reality, and you should follow that. Tomorrow you see things differently and you understand things deeper or otherwise. So then it will affect your lifestyle and the choice of food and diet. Because your consciousness craves that which it is. Because at this point, it is in the codependent relationship with the projected reality, with the food, and everything else is also the food. Whatever we watch, whatever we consume through other senses is also food. And so that which we are attracted to is of the same frequency which our current consciousness. So why do we fool ourselves? We have to just entertain that until we see that it's harmful and our consciousness drains. So then we look for changes. We can't find changes if we don't look for them. But to look for some change, or to look for the truth, we have to start awakening to the truth within ourselves first. And so health is not separate from our state of mind, the level of our awareness, spiritual being, because everything is spiritual. Even this illusion is a part of creation, which has spiritual substance, but not everything within the projected reality is actually of a high level of awareness. It is just there, having enough energy to sustain itself or to validate itself within the projected reality. Whatever beyond the scope of this projected reality is not of that nature, so it has to be given only that amount of energy which is necessary or is relevant for us at this point. So otherwise, that element doesn't exist. It only exists because we give it energy, we give it sustenance within our consciousness. The same happens to ideologies. If we don't feed these ideologies and belief systems from within, they're irrelevant. They're no longer a part of our personal consciousness. Not that we will not experience resistance by dissolving the connection with these limited classes of consciousness, But if we are on the right path within ourselves, we will realize how these limited forms of ideologies or thoughts or philosophies are actually limiting us from within and draining us. So everything is relevant to a degree of its relevance. And we can entertain it for a while, knowing again and coming from the standpoint that we are already fulfilled from within by being connected to the source. Then it doesn't create codependency or addictive response. But when we are not aware, we easily create unhealthy relationships with the projected reality and get into the codependence with whatever projected elements, whatever element within the projected reality. And so we cannot hope for being balanced and healthy because we are in an unhealthy relationship with the projected reality. And this unhealthy relationship is defined by the unhealthy or unwholesome sense of self, which is still driven by the collective and the individual trauma and the karmic residue that is attached to it. And so the traumatic response is always the response of obsession, addiction, craving. And until it's there, we cannot truly heal or restore that autonomous, wholesome being, and thus rebuild ourselves in a healthy way, in a way of balance, clarity, and autonomy. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope it brought some clarity and answered your questions. You may still post your questions and comments down below. Thank you very much, and be all well.